Vaccine for rotavirus. The virus is the most common cause globally of severe and dehydrating diarrhea. More news, all the details, coming up at 10 o'clock.
Check out Jules Chiller.
So what are you meant to do? Like go to a lunchroom or a canteen or go outside and eat and then walk around? Would that be better?
Yeah.
Weekdays from 4.
There are so many bonuses to doing that. You're just refreshing your brain, you're changing your focus, huge advantages.
You just want to make me take a late lunch now. I'm looking over, I can see a pub in the distance. I'm thinking just have a light shandy and come back. I'll be a lot fresher.
Don't miss Jules.
Jules Chiller.
Weekdays from 4.
On ABC Radio Adelaide. You're listening to David Bevan. On ABC Radio Adelaide.
Who's Sarah Konofsky going to be talking to today between 11 and 12 on this station? Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning. I have an incredible woman. I mean, I know I say that they're always incredible, but they are.
Yes, I'm waiting for the day when you come on stage with the person on to talk to today.
Don't worry about it.
Actually, you know.
Turn your radios
Turn
off.
your radio.
Go for a run. Well, you can't do that today because this woman, Kirsty Wright, is, this is what strikes me again and again with conversations. There are people who do jobs, David, that, I just don't get how someone can do this. It might be because someone does something, extraordinarily dangerous or adventurous. But in this case, this woman's, I can't quite think yet about how to describe what her personal qualities might be. She's got to be really smart. She's a scientist. She's got to be really steady and calm. And she's got to have an incredibly compassionate heart that goes above her own personal comfort or interests.
Well, she's got to be so strong because...
So what her job was that after the Boxing Day tsunami in 2004, where there are hundreds of thousands of victims who need to be identified, DNA specialists from all around the world converge on those countries, in Indonesia and in Thailand, in Sri Lanka, to help identify bodies. And she went as one of the leaders of the DNA team into Thailand, into Phuket, where there were, I think, about 8,000 people whose lives had been taken in that disaster. And she arrived in April, so just a few months after the tsunami struck, where there are thousands of bodies. It's a horror movie scenario. And she was meant to stay for 3 weeks, but she stayed for 5 months because she understood that one of the things that was going to allow this to happen was continuity of attention and care, and all of her skills that she'd developed as a scientist here in Australia, she wanted to bring and go through this incredibly painstaking and painful process of body by body, identifying who was who, reuniting grieving loved ones with the bodies of their family members who passed away, sometimes whole families, sometimes 6, 7 members of a family, both holiday makers, often from Europe, or of course Thai locals as well, equally committed to the care of both of those groups. So she's an extraordinary person, and she's gone on to do, she's been involved in lots of major crime cases here in Australia. But what I really want to talk to her about is the scale of this tsunami, because, it's 2004, it's, we all remember it, it feels recent, but then to actually go back and remember that, the shocking scale, the unimaginable scale, and to hear this first person account of just trying to make their small but hugely significant contribution in a disaster of that scale. I think it's going to be absolutely extraordinary to talk to her.
That's Kirsty Wright speaking to Sarah Konofsky. She's a forensic biologist. Spent 5 months in Thailand after the tsunami. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thanks, David.
That's between 11 and 12 today. In a moment, a remarkable woman of a different kind.
You're listening to David Bevan. On ABC Radio Adelaide.
It is a great pleasure.
You're very kind, David. Thank you.
To welcome Brendan O'Connell, a.k.a. Mrs. Brown, into our studio. Welcome to Adelaide.
It's great to be here. Well, it's the third time back, and it's because we actually left Adelaide to be the last gig on this part of the Australian tour.
Yes.
Because it's our favourite place. We stay longest in Adelaide than we stay anywhere else.
Is that right?
Yeah, the first year we came, we stayed in the city centre.
Yes.
Which is a bit of a bummer. I don't mean for any other reason other than it was a city centre.
Yes.
And it's got to the stage where worldwide you could be anywhere.
Yes.
But the second time we came here, our producer, Fiona Gibbney, said, "Oh, I found you a nice place to stay, and you're going to enjoy this." So they put us out in Glenelg.
Glenelg?
Well, it's just paradise. The most magnificent sunsets I've ever seen in my life. To wake up to the sound of the water splashing on the beach, it's just heaven. So we couldn't wait to get here, and what we did was we left Perth as early as we could.
Yes.
And we're going on to Christchurch next, but we're going there as late as we have to.
So you can stay at Glenelg?
Correct. Instead of having just a week, we have 10 days here.
Now, I've got to ask you, Brendan.
Yeah.
What does Mrs. Brown think of Adelaide?
She loves it. I loved it. I think Adelaide's absolutely gorgeous. And it's so close to London. So close. It's very handy.
What was it? Dylan Moran said. What was it? Dylan Moran or John Cleese was saying how close South Australia is closer to the sun than anywhere else in the world.
For those of you that are, I mean, Australian people obviously don't feel this, but when you do come from Ireland and you come to Australia for the very first time, you do get that feeling that 2 more steps and you'll fall off the planet. You're just about at the end.
Now, what does Mrs. Brown think of Australia in general?
She loves it. Well, she thinks, first of all, she thinks it's very much her. Because they're very Australian people are very, very down to earth, very grounded.
Yes.
So there's no airs and graces. She hasn't found that at all.
No.
So they'd be her kind of people.
But does she find it even puzzling?
No, I don't say puzzling. I enjoy a lot of it. Some of it that I couldn't believe was free. The strip search at the airport, that was free. They didn't charge me anything for that.
She went back for another one.
Oh, yes. I said, keep going, I'll write you a check.
I was watching some videos knowing that you were coming in.
Sorry about that.
No. And you received a Lifetime Achievement Award from IFTA
yes.
a few years ago, which is, what does IFTA stand for? It's the
Irish Film and Television Academy.
Irish Film and Television Academy.
It's the Irish version of BAFTA and the Academy Awards.
Yeah. Now, you received a Lifetime Achievement Award for comedy.
I said, somebody's not telling me something. I've obviously been diagnosed with something and they haven't told me.
You said in that speech, your acceptance speech, which was a wonderful thing, you said, I've ticked off all my bucket list. And you said, do you know why? I'm working with my family and with my friends. I've got, I think it's 2 or 3 generations now working with you.
Yeah.
And that's your bucket list. And they're all with you this time.
Well, you know, you learn, of course. I'm a lot older than I was when I started when I was 35 years of age, so I'm 62 now, so I'm 23 years, or 33 years doing this. And I started off, like all comedians, I started on the stand-up circuit, which is a busy circuit, and you're going all the time. And you learn very quickly that it's the loneliest life you could possibly choose, stand-up. It's you, your microphone, and your suit cover, and that's it. Gig to gig to gig. And I know it's good fun when you're on stage, it is great, and you have these people, thank God, adoring what you're doing, and you get a round of applause when you finish work. Lots of my friends work in factories or delivering coal or delivering milk, and nobody claps when they finish work.
Really?
No, so I mean, I'm very lucky. I know all the lucky bits about it, but when you close that hotel bedroom door, you're on your own. You wake up on your own, you go sleep on your own, you go down and usually have breakfast on your own. And it can be a very lonely life. I'd love to say that I had a plan to move all the family into the business, but honestly, David, I didn't. It was completely accidental. It happened bit by bit by bit, very serendipitous, and it obviously is the way it's meant to be. And every time something popped up, I went, well, he could do that, or she could do that. And my son Danny was the first to join us. He plays Buster in the show. He came on. We discovered when Danny was 15 that he was dyslexic. We discovered very late.
You were dyslexic?
I'm dyslexic too, and so is my other son Eric. And it was only through Eric getting diagnosed that they said to us, we'd like to test you and your son Danny.
Yeah.
And when they tested us, we were classic dyslexic. And she did a very clever thing. She opened the book and the child psychologist, and she said to me, read that page. I said, you want me to read it out loud? She said, no, just read it. So I'm reading it, and as I'm reading it, I'm thinking, and I'm not bragging, but I'm a member of Mensa. I've got a photographic memory. When I read this, I'll be able not just tell her what's in the page, I'll tell her where the full stops are, where the commas are. So I finished reading it, I handed her the book, and she said, that's good. She said, did you read it once or twice? I said, just once. And I'm waiting for her to ask me the questions. She picked up a stopwatch. She said, you've got the reading speed of a 12-year-old. Now, I knew I read slowly, and I do, but I absorb everything. So she said, we need to see her other son. So we saw Danny, found out that Danny was dyslexic. He was 15 at the time. Went back to the school and I said, look, he's going to need extra And the school said, no, we won't be able to do that. So when I came out, I'm sitting in the car and I'm wondering, what am I going to do with this kid? And Danny said to me, Dad, look, I can read enough to read a script. All he ever wanted to be was an actor from the time he was a kid. So I said, okay, Danny, it's not like that. It's tough. It really is tough.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be out of work most of the time. Actors spend their whole lives looking for work. That's what they spend their lives doing.
You need the hard knocks.
Absolutely. And he said, Dad, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I said, I'm going to get your headshot. I'm going to send it out to every casting director that I know across the UK. And you're going to go in, you're going to do those auditions, you're going to get humiliated, you're going to come out feeling with your heart, and then tell me that you want to be an actor.
Yes.
So I sent it out. He was called for 5 things and he got every single one. He came back with the attitude of, Dad, this is easy.
This is easy.
Okay, now you start at the bottom. So he started as assistant stage manager. He went on then to work in props, then he went on to work in lights, then on to sound, because it's important that all the family, and I believe every actor should know, what it takes to make you look good.
Yep.
And to understand that right down to the security man on the front door, if he's not there, there is no show.
Yep.
Which makes him just as important as the people on the stage. And they've learned that.
Jake sent us a text. He says, Brendan, on behalf of us dyslexics out there growing up from the 50s to the late 80s, we thank you for proving we're not all a bunch of dumb idiots.
No, and I understand exactly what Jake is saying, because you do feel that at times.
Yeah.
I was very lucky. I had a very extraordinary mother. My mother began her life as a nun, and renounced her vows, had to take on the Vatican to do that. Renounced her vows, went on to marry my dad and have 11 kids, so she was obviously right to renounce her vows.
That was a good move.
When she left the convent, she went into teaching, and she taught languages. And as soon as she married my dad, she was fired, because in Ireland you couldn't work as a civil servant if you were a married woman.
Yeah, but that has to be the case here.
Which is so ridiculous. So she said, I'm not having that. And she got involved in the union, and in 1953 she was the first woman elected to the Irish Parliament with 11 kids.
Wow.
Well, actually only 10 at the time. I came when she was a sitting TD, which wasn't sitting at the time, she was lying down. And I was very lucky that she picked up, we didn't know what dyslexia was, it wasn't heard of in those days, but she picked up that she knew I was a smart kid, but I wasn't keeping up. And she said, we're going to have to find a different way for you to learn. And without realising it, what my mother was doing and what she did for the years after that, was she helped me to learn how to think outside the box. I didn't fit in the box, so I had no choice. I had to learn to think outside the box. And God bless her, and God bless those who were patient with me. It worked.
Well, Shannon says you have done very well from where you started. Mrs. Brown, Australia loves you.
Yes,
says Shannon.
And I feel every bit of it.
Mrs. Brown, you playing Mrs. Brown, was an accident, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
You were filling in because
I had booked this actress. She was the only one that was getting paid, actually.
This is when it was a radio.
When it was radio, yeah. It was 5 minutes a day. It was about 5 days a week for 2 weeks. That was it. It was only supposed to go for 2 weeks. And I booked this actress. I used everybody. I used my window cleaner came in and did one of the voices. He now plays Grandad in the show, the TV show. My sound engineer at the time, Rody Pepsi, he now plays Mark. He came in and did one of the voices. Everybody I could think of got different voices, but I needed to get, for the Mrs. Brown character, somebody. So I got this great Dublin actress. And she was the only one that said was getting paid. And I had her booked to come into the studio, but she got a kidney infection. And so I said, well, you know what, I'll do her lines.
Yeah.
And then when we go into the edit, I can dub her in.
Yeah.
And just for a little bit of authenticity for the boys, I did that hello Mrs. Brown voice, because I know there's so many Mrs. Browns, there's lots of them, and I know them. So when I went into the editor said to me, who's the actress playing Mrs. Brown? Yeah. I said, Jonathan, that's me. And he said, oh man, he said, you got to keep that voice. You got to keep it.
And you've been living with her ever since?
I've been living with that woman, and that widow has put my kids through school, has got my kids their own home, and that widow's been so good to me.
Brendan, when I was a kid growing up in the 70s, here in Adelaide, it seemed to me that every night, almost every night, there was a story from Ireland, and it was about the Troubles.
Yeah.
But something's changed, because in the last 20 years, and I reckon there's a generation of people now growing up, and they wouldn't know about that. I'm talking about here in Adelaide. Their impressions of Ireland would be totally different. Their impressions of Ireland would be your Brendan O'Carrolls, your Dylan Morans. In Adelaide, we've got the wonderful Eddie Bannon.
Yeah. We're very lucky that, you know, what you're talking about there is actually what got us through the Troubles. We never lost our sense of comedy. Yeah. And it's how anybody will tell you, if you want to have really good fun, come to an Irish funeral. Because that's how we cope with loss, how we cope with disaster. We make a joke.
Yeah.
We laugh. Doesn't mean we don't take it serious, but we laugh. And you're right, it is a generational thing, because we went through a period from the 60s on. By the time we got to the 90s, there were kids who were born and were 25, 30 years of age and never knew peace.
No.
They only knew the troubles. But now, we've got kids who never knew the troubles and only know peace. And thank God, we'll never go back there. It's so archaic, it's so ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. First of all, from the Republican point of view, and I would regard myself as an Irish Republican.
Yes.
But from a Republican point of view, we refuse to acknowledge that there's a border there. It's a 32-county republic.
Yeah.
However, although we refuse to acknowledge this border, we pay about $6 million a year to patrol this border that doesn't exist.
Right.
Which is so Irish.
Yep.
And then from the other side, it's now the EU. We were all under one EU. There is no borders between us and Belgium. There's no border. And that's going to change obviously with Brexit. And that's one of the problems that they're going to have, is that Irish border thing. But I think that they'll overcome it. No, I think the most important thing is what you said, the mindset. The mindset is important, that we go, that was a ridiculous time.
Yeah.
That was crazy. And people losing their life over what? I mean, literally over what?
Well, a friend of mine said to me, you know what who grew up in Ireland, and he said that the turning point for him was the bombing in, I think it was Omagh.
The Omagh bombing, yeah.
In the late 90s.
That was a sneaky one. That was really bad.
And he said that he said he can remember driving in the car and the news came through about the bombing, and it had killed people on both sides, innocent people on both sides,
and relatives of people who were high up on both sides.
On both sides. And he said he remembered pulling the car over and wiping the tears from his eyes.
It was dreadful.
And he said, for me and for a lot of people, that was the turning point. I mean, for others it might have been something else, but for that was it. And he said, at that point, so many of us said, no more. No more.
You start to see the ridiculousness of it.
Mm.
You start to see, look, I'd like to think, I would die for my family.
Yeah.
I wouldn't kill for them, though. I'd die for my country, but I wouldn't kill for it.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference in being passionate about being Irish or being passionate about being Australian, but also understanding that it's a very small village, this earth of ours. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The time was, we're not at the time where Van Diemen's Land was 6 months away. You're now 12-hour flight and you're there. So it's got really, really small. I live in Florida, but I go home to Dublin for the weekend. You couldn't do that then. I remember, there's a great story. My mother's mother, she was only 18 years of age when she met this man who was a Republican, funny enough, and a journalist with the Freeman's Journal, and a member of Atlantic Gale. We all spoke Irish before we spoke English as kids. But my mum's mother announced she was going to marry this man, and he was a year younger than her father. So that didn't go down well.
No.
So my mum tells the story that her father forbade and went absolutely nuts. No way, you're not having anything to do. So they kept their little affair secret, and they said they were going to emigrate to America. That's what they decided to do.
Yeah.
So little by little, over a couple of months, she sneaked her clothes, bit by bit, out of the house. He went and bought the tickets, and they were going to elope. And the night before she was due to go, whatever about her father, she couldn't get over this thing of that the next morning she was going to say goodbye to her mother as if she was going to work. And because it was when it was, back in 1913, she probably wouldn't see her again.
No.
So she relented, and she came down, and her mother came down, you okay? And they made a cup of hot milk, and she confessed. And her mother went, oh my God, if your father knew you were that serious, he would relent. He would, if he knew you were this serious. So they got him out of bed. He went nuts, but calmed down and said, well, if you're going to do it and you're going to get married, you're going to do it properly here in Ireland. So they went called around to him. He came, my granddad, he came around. The men shook hands, and he went and sold the tickets for the boat to a policeman and his wife who were getting married, who were due to get married. The tickets were for the Titanic. To pick up the Titanic in Cork and head out to the Titanic. Now the irony of it all was, and the thing that ties it all together, and this is, again, serendipity is amazing. The policeman survived. His wife didn't. She survived the Titanic. My grandmother never got on a boat again. Not even a canoe would she get in. Wow. Never got on a boat again. But fast forward 30 years, and my mother is now a member of Parliament. Yeah. And she had changed so many laws that were anti-women, anti-child. She changed so many. One of the laws that she changed was a law that said you could beat your wife, provided you didn't use a stick longer than your forearm or thicker than your thumb. Which wasn't a bad law. I think maybe they should bring that back in. But she got laws like that, and ridiculous laws changed. But she also realised that there's no point in changing laws for women unless you have a women police force. That it was very male-dominated. If a man calls at the house over an abuse, if a policeman calls at the house over an abuse complaint, he'd knock at the door, the man would open the door, his house was his palace, and would say, none of your business. So she tried to get the women's police force formed. Terrible trouble getting it, until one afternoon she was going through Stephen's Green after one particularly hard meeting and met one of the chief superintendents that was on the board. They went for a drink together. She said to him, there's a phone in the lobby of the hotel if you want to ring your wife. He said, no, my wife, I'm a widower. He said, my wife passed away. She actually drowned on the Titanic. And my mother said, you didn't buy her tickets from a man named McHugh? He said, yes, I did. She said, that was my dad. And the following Monday, the women's police force was formed.
What an amazing
Isn't that incredible? And that's what I mean about it being a village. See what I mean about it's just a village. So you're fighting over what?
Brendan, and you make us laugh. Thank you so much. Brendan O'Carroll, he's here for Mrs. Brown's Boys. The show's called For the Love of Mrs. Brown.
She's going to get some love.
And it's on at the Adelaide Entertainment
She needs
Centre.
love. Her legs have been together longer than the Rolling Stones.
Brendan, thank you for coming in.
Thanks, David.
It's 6 minutes to 10.
You're listening to David Bevan on ABC Radio Adelaide.
What an amazing story. Malcolm Farr is National Political Editor of news.com.au, and he talks to us regularly about national affairs. And I think, Malcolm, you were sitting there listening to Brendan O'Carroll.
It was fascinating. Bring him back, for God's sake. I mean, that's much more interesting than I can be.
Oh.
That wasn't that amazing. The hairs in the back of my neck went up. I mean, that's just extraordinary.